Okay. Okay. I have promoted you as co-host, Sachin. Okay.
Okay. Thank you,
Let's see.
Sandeep.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for holding up. I can see there are 41 people online, and we are starting up soon in around 15 minutes. So till then, I'm keeping the camera and mic on so that you can hear. And the theme of the entire talk is going to be the LLMs and AI in general. So feel free to ask questions while everybody joining. And yeah, so I'm keeping the mic and the video purposefully on so that everybody feels part of it. Okay. So yeah, the mic is on, the camera is on. So yeah, and yeah.
Thanks for coming. Feel free to come.
Yeah, yeah, it's completely okay. Hi. Huh.
Hello. Hi everyone, good evening. Please give us another 15 minutes before we start. In the time, Makhan, analysts, and speakers can go
हटा दे,
questions
minimize कर दे बस.
before the session starts. Thank you.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Okay. All right, Shini, your caller mic is yours. It is on, and yeah, and you can see now. And it is Shini.
Yes, still something.
There are around 40 people now. So let it be. Let it be. You might feel like a reality show. So yeah.
Record the session.
It is recording.
No.
Okay. Let me just record. Yeah, we can just say. Sachin is online. Okay. All right.
Issue that happened is because of the meetup thing, some people who were waitlisted suddenly meetup pushed them to
RSVP. Anyway. Let it be. Oh, they're calling.
No, suddenly just called me saying Kian is managing it.
Okay.
So like, suddenly that meetup thing I told you.
Oh.
Suddenly they got wrong with some. Suddenly they just
Oh, because somebody said no.
yeah.
Oh.
And their names are not really fine. So I told you this meetup ka invitations. I can understand that.
Oh.
And the way it is, if you say only online event, people will not know that this.
Oh.
You make it hybrid, it's confusing. This is the drawback of.
It's very a bit more advanced system is needed. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. So yeah. Okay. So I'm guessing that everybody can hear what you're talking. Okay. 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 Yes, the recordings will be shared with everybody, but I think stay in the call so that I can, you can interact more and ask questions. Hi.
So you've been working in this space for quite some time, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did you move here recently, or you've been
2 months back.
Oh, I moved here 3 months.
Welcome. Where did you move from?
I'm from Nepal,
Nepal.
but I used to be in Hong Kong for quite some time.
I
like
see.
10 years.
I see.
I was working there until
Nice.
recently.
Nice.
And
Nice.
I was exploring Meetup, like how to meet similar people.
Okay.
Found out about this group.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Nice.
So where were you?
I was in Bangalore.
I was there as well. Like during my graduation, I studied there. That was
Okay.
2011. I think.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Nice. Which company you're working with?
I work for a hedge fund called Baliasni Asset Management.
Okay.
It's a US-based fund, but they also have a business here.
Okay.
I used to work in the same company in Hong Kong and just relocated my job.
Okay.
3 months ago.
Okay. Nice. Nice. You liking it here?
So far, good.
Good. I see.
Place relative to Hong Kong, it's broad, literally, and in other sense, in terms of that, I guess.
How is AI coming into your work?
We are the users of AI in a casual sense. Like ChatGPT has been opened up for the entire firm. Like we're about 2,000 plus people, entire firm. So everybody probably uses it for asking general questions about tech and other general stuff. And there are dedicated teams who work on capitalizing AI for money, monetizing that. But it's still like evolving, I would say. Like there are a few teams who do on their own work on advanced machine learning stuff, but a lot of other teams probably don't use in a critical way.
Okay. Okay.
It's catching up fast.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to talk about how you can utilize the embeddings and other things in your work as part of my talk. But yeah, stay in touch. I'm here. So in Bangalore, I have like a big community, 35,000 people in AI. And in Singapore, I have a good team, like good.
So you were here temporarily, or you
No, I moved
here?
here. Moved here. Hopefully permanently, but not sure.
Same here.
Hi. Yes, 2 months back.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah.
What a, what a,
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I saw your profile on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Okay. Yeah. So
We also recently, so I'm working for Ford right now as a contractor, and we are trying to, find out multiple use cases for LLMs and how we can use them. So recently, we have like the claims data where the customer text and the technician feedback. So we are trying to use LLM's capability to do things like that.
this is being streamed, by the way.
I'm sorry.
This is being streamed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
So there are around 50 people listening
Oh,
to our conversation.
okay.
I hope you're okay with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So you were talking about.
No, same thing. So we are trying to find out use cases using the LLM. So we are using Google's Vertex AI,
Okay.
and they come up with these different LLMs, right?
Okay.
Using Palm to
Okay.
Palm models.
Yes.
So we are doing some interesting
Okay.
things on that.
Okay.
Nothing to the production yet.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. Okay. Because you can do a lot of magic with the current state. It is essentially a starting of a new era.
Okay.
That's how I'm looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was heading the AI for a company recently,
Okay.
and I saw that almost every flow is impacted. Everything. So the way people design workflow engines, the way people design BI tools, the way people designed almost every piece of software needs to be reinvented. Okay, so it's like impacting everything. Because so earlier, like I am communicating to you without using any UI or any interface, right? You are communicating me just by language. So if we can do the same thing with every system, every tool, without having to invent a new user interface or user interaction element, you're gone. So I think that is why, I mean, a person learns a language since childhood, and language is fairly complex. So, and the UI components can only express a very small subset of communication, right? And for every new set of communication I have to do, people have to invent a new interface, right? I have to like I have to communicate to the computer that send this email from this to this. Now, instead of saying this, I have to type in all the things. Now, this could have been, a big, this essentially shows that the user interaction and user presentation, everything has been impacted everywhere. So that's a thing. And there are lots of ideas that I'm seeing right now since ChatGPT came into play. It's a new era that has started.
How has your own perception changed about AI before and after ChatGPT?
So I was very convinced about the AI. So I'll tell you that I was with D. Shaw in 2002, and we were doing machine learning that time. Okay, machine learning and all of these things we were doing at that point of time, and we were doing on a scale. We had 4,000 nodes of complete systems. Nobody has 4,000 nodes at that point of time. So we were very, bullish about the idea that you have to infer the rules from the data rather than coding all the rules. But we were not clear about how generic can it be, right? So till say 2012, my perception was standard machine learning. That machine learning is numerical analysis, like statistics and all of that. But when I joined Immobi, that point of time I started with more deeper versions of these things. And then Amazon, and then I worked with after Amazon, when I looked at the state of computer vision and then state of the NLP, that point of time RNNs had come. So there is a very popular paper called Auto Reply from Google Gmail team. Okay, so that was an eye opener to me that the embeddings have really started the game. Okay, so then the LSTM and other embeddings and those things, right? I'm pretty convinced that this is what is going to work. But the main challenge that I was seeing all the time was that the recurrent neural network had a limitation. It could not go beyond a certain size, okay, certain context size, and it was not performing great. And this is when transformer models came in, and then GPT, the moment they figured out that, yeah, GPT is something that can be retrained, and that point of time, my perception has changed mainly after interacting with ChatGPT. I was convinced that the computer has started to understand the language, but this much of intelligence I did not expect. I was expecting like 10% of what ChatGPT does. Okay, that amount of intelligence I was expecting. But yeah, so for me, the perception was that intelligence is all data driven, even for human and everybody. But having this level of intelligence is something that I did not expect so early.
From a fundamental physics basis point, I was open always, but like I wasn't very sure about how far we could go with it.
No,
Maybe a fundamental change after this.
Okay.
For example, a lot of these big professors were not very serious. I mean, they themselves invented a lot of mathematics used in ML, but for example, Terence Star and all these people. But now they are also very
yeah. So a lot of world has been very pessimistic about AI. I had been like very positive about it. I could see that I knew like when people talk about conscience, human, all of the part, right? We kind of believe that some way humans are different. Humans have something different than any other thing. Okay, and but if you see the data, right? Like we are also taking all the decisions based on the data. Either we have inherited some amount of intelligence or we have learned. Okay. And whatever we have inherited was learned by our parents. It's just that we have like too many parents. If we have like, think about 3,000 generations. Yeah.
We will wait for the 5 minutes and start.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I think I'm on live, right? Yeah. No, just say answer live. I'll just answer that question. Yeah. All right. Shall we start? It's already. Let's start.
5 minutes.
You're on.
Should we start?
Yeah, it is fun.
Sure. Sandeep, I'll just come. Just guys, this, I'll just come. Just come.
Can you? Hi. Hi, Sammy. Come in.
You're the one the speaker.
Yeah, I'm one of the speakers. Why don't you come in? Why don't you stand?
Oh, no, I'm just watching.
Okay.
That's my job.
Okay. Okay. You're one of the volunteers.
Yeah, volunteers. Yeah.
Okay. 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 Okay.
Just making sure.
So right now we are live. I'm unmuted.
That's not muted. Oh, it's muted.
Unmuted. Everybody can hear. And then there are 60 participants online right now.
Nice.
And yeah, so you can. And yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
So here is the power. This thing is charging the power bank. This thing is charging this. Okay. Cool.
Give me the mic. We'll start.
It's on.
Hi everyone, we'll be starting at 4:25. I'm sorry for the delay. Just another few minutes. Yeah. You want to start?
We have two and then one backup, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All the research is available to everyone. So it would be what people actually are in the cloud. But it won't be taken.
Start in 2 minutes. 4:25.
The slides I can just forward and advance it to click and stop working.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Or down here, right?
Here?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Perfect.
I think we'll start now. Good evening, everyone. I am sorry for the wait. We had people coming in and people joining in online, so we took a little more time. So sincere apologies for the delay. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you all, distinguished speakers, avid learners, and enthusiasts who joined us today in the heart of downtown at Loblaw Digital. This Friday evening, it's just time to be memorable with some amazing lineup of speakers we have today and the topics that we're going to discuss. Thanks to all of you. We had a phenomenal response for the meetup, and due to space constraints, we couldn't actually accommodate most of them, who were on the meetups. But definitely, I think next time, we would definitely make sure we would take a bigger space if possible to kind of do that. I also wish to express sincere gratitude to Loblaw's Digital, especially Charu, Kiana, Brittany, and the team for supporting this event and providing this space and the facilities for making this event happen today. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So I'm Srinivas Mote, co-founder of Meetup. So today the agenda would be, we will start off a kickoff session with Makhan Virdi, the AI scientist at NASA, doctorate. Just give me 1 second, please. Makhan Virdi is a doctorate and he's got his PhD in computer modeling of natural phenomena. He's an AI researcher and scientist at NASA, coming with deep experience in machine learning. He has more than 200 citations and he's a Google scholar. He also won a national award from the US Federal Data Committee. And in his free time, Makhan hacks software, hardware. he loves devices and kind of playing with it. So thanks, Makhan, for joining us today. Then we have Sandeep Giri. Sandeep Giri is a technologist and AI/ML researcher, has more than 20 years of experience working in data, mathematics, and machine learning since 2002. He's worked in organizations like B. Shaw, Amazon, and DevRev, where he led AI roles. And Sandeep is also the person who actually developed the buy now button on Amazon. What you see today is Sandeep is what kind of built that platform. Sandeep is an entrepreneur, a 2 times entrepreneur. I think he's starting his 3rd company now. So, and thanks Sandeep for joining us today. We have Alan Su. Alan Su is a senior director at Loblaw Digital. Alan has been working on some of the most innovative products for Loblaws using generative AI, especially on customer loyalty, e-commerce experience, and how to simplify operations and efficiency. Thanks, Alan, for taking your time and joining us today. So without much ado, I want to kind of kick this off by giving the stage to Makhan Virdi. You can go to the next slide, please. Makhan, over to you.
Thank you. It's very difficult to live up to that kind of grand introduction. But just so you know, my grandma still thinks that I'm the guy who just fixes the remote control when it's not working. She's 87. All right. So I'll start with something that is more generic. Any science or any technology, to me, is meant to improve the quality of life for humans, right? And the planet that we live on is a fragile planet, and that's the only planet that we know. The population is growing. We are around like 7+ billion right now, 7.88, I think. And the amount of people, the number of people that the planet can sustain is about 9 billion, by some estimate 10 billion. So we are approaching that number very fast, right? So I'll go from that perspective and narrow down to the technical side, right? So any tool that we develop, any research that we do, right, it has to impact the globe and the people that are living on that, and the interaction between the two. Why interaction? Because there are limited resources. Think of it as you are living in a 3-bedroom apartment, but then guests keep coming in, right? So you can sustain maybe like 10 people in a 3-bedroom, but anything more than that is crowded, right? So that's the same with this one as well, right? And we do agriculture, we do mining, we have industry, we have transportation, energy needs, food need, water needs, all those needs. Those are the kind of resources that we are constrained on. So the impact that our activities have on the planet is causing changes that we are not used to or prepared for. We often say that we have to save the planet, but in reality, the planet doesn't care about you. The planet will be there. We have to save our sustainable relationship with the planet. That's what we are trying to work towards. We have hurricanes, we have droughts, we have flooding more than what we used to have in the past. Forest fire, recent examples, air quality impacts of those, more population, more use of energy, more pollution, burning fossil fuels, and that impact our lungs and the lungs of our kids and everything in the future. Before I talk about that, so I'm here in my personal capacity. So anything that I say is not me representing NASA. It's just my personal views as a researcher, independent researcher, right? So this is the fleet of satellites that we have, and we have a similar fleet from European Space Agency and other space agencies around the world. So the objective of each one of these satellites is to understand the planet and how we are interacting with the planet and how is that impacting the planet and what we can do about that. It's real factual data gathering, and it's free and open to the public. Anyone can go and get their hands on each of the data file from each of these satellites to do citizen science or informed decisions. That's a beautiful picture of Ottawa, fall, I think 2-3 years ago, 2020, 17th of October, I think. So these are the kind of pictures and images that we gather from satellite, and then we make inferences from that. Now, these satellites are pumping out lots and lots of data. We are right here, like if you look at the FY 2022, 72 petabytes of data. But if you look at like 7 years down the lane, we'll be at 600 petabytes of data, which is a lot of data. And humans are limited in their capacity to analyze the data. Even computers are limited. So that's where the AI comes in. AI can really help us sift through this large amount of data and make some really impactful, useful inferences, right? Again, raw data comes in from the satellites. We have algorithms, we have workflows, we have scientists, we have domain knowledge about certain aspects, and each of these, or a combination of these, generate insights based on the data that goes in, right? So AI can fit somewhere in there. Identify complex patterns. Complex patterns are difficult to identify in any data, but when you have like that kind of petabytes of data, it becomes even more difficult, right? Humans just can't do that, or will do a very shoddy job at that. So one other way that AI can help is, this is one of the cube satellites that I'm working on. If you look at the blown up imagery there, it has got the embedded AI core. What that is, you train the model, you build the artificial intelligence model, and then you write it on the chip on the satellite. So then you don't have the data streaming in from the satellite, you actually have the inferences streaming down from the satellite. So if there is a fire, it will know right away, because the model is trained to look at the data that is collecting. So you don't spend time for the satellite to beam the data down to you, and then you get the data, get it in the right format, and then try to make inferences, either using computer, automated, or yourself. So this is like AI on the edge, we can call it. So you can use it in hardware and software as well. So coming back to the point of discussion, or the topic of discussion for tonight, generative AI. What is that? Artificial intelligence that can generate something that you find useful. I did that last night, 2 nights ago, last night I think. Create an image of Swiss landscape with cows and sheep, with mountains and waterfall in the backdrop. Each of this imagery was generated by AI. And none of that exists in real life, anywhere in Switzerland or anywhere else in the world. Just an example of what generative AI is. My son will be 6 soon. So I prompted the AI with, write a 4-line poem for my son's 6th birthday. And these are the 4 lines that it wrote. You see the underline 6 years strong and belong and may joy fill your space. Maybe that is reference to NASA. But it was able to generate something decent, right? And then I prompted it further. I said, write another poem, similar one, in Shakespeare's style. And then it was able to do. It knows the boy, it knows it's a lad, age of 6, and then use the English that was popular during his time, right? So it has a lot of knowledge, and that looks like something written by a poet from that era, but it does not exist in reality. It was not written by him. And then I pushed it further for Edgar Allan Poe, like how would he write something similar? And it went to the same thing. It knows the style. It knows that he talks about ravens and crows a lot. It just put that thing in there. So it's contextually aware and semantically aware of how things work. So that's the fun side of things, right? So it can actually, I prompted it to write a marketing strategy with a $10,000 budget, and it was and give it like a comprehensive strategy and how much each of those steps will cost, and it was really able to do that in a fraction of a second. So let's go back to the history. Is it just clever programming, or is it a little bit more than that? We have a history of people trying to do machine translation. This example is from the 70s or something, I think 80s, right? 50s, wow, okay. So this is a quote, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. That's like metaphorically, it means like the human wants to do big things, but they cannot because of their limitations or something like that, right? So what they did was they tried to, a good test of any translation is to translate it to another language and translate it back to see if it still makes sense, right? So they translated this to Russian and then back to English, and this was what came out. The vodka is good, but the meat is rotten. Or the other translation is vodka is ready, but the meat is rotten. Something like that, right? So that was the past. That is what we got when we were trying to teach computers grammar, rules, logic, flow structure, things like that. More traditional way of doing things. We thought like if we teach the model millions of rules about language, it will be able to perform just like humans, but did not. Now comes generative AI. I did that last night again. Translate this English sentence to Russian, and I don't know if we have anyone who is good with Russian here, but yeah, it translated to this, and I said translate the same sentence. I copied it back to English, and it was able to get the same thing back. So that's something amazing, and that doesn't come with like rules and regulations and all those things. So is it just an evolutionary step in computing or language understanding, or is it like a revolutionary step? You probably have some ideas about that too. Traditionally, we were trying to go with the syntax, syntactic, rule-based, grammars, logic, flow structure, and all those things. But now we have semantic understanding, the context understanding, what's the underlying theme that is being talked about in that specific piece of literature. We have experience-based learning. For example, Shakespeare's, right? All the text or literature that has been produced by humanity over the last 1,000+ years, the model knows the structure, the content, the texture, the feeling, and what it is, because it's experience-based, right? And then it has attention and memory. It's not like going from one sentence to another sentence, it will lose context. It kind of keeps a track of what you are reading. For example, if you are reading a book, the characters are built in the first few chapters. And when they talk about those same characters in third or fourth chapter, you sort of connect. If you don't, then that chapter will lose meaning and you won't have the full story. So that's where we are right now. So the whole thing started like back in the 50s, actually during the World War. The Turing test was invented by Alan Turing to test whether a computer program can mimic human behavior, or is it can we distinguish whether that's the human on the other side who is interacting with you, or is it just a computer program? And then people had different ideas. Lots of books were written. Isaac Asimov, Arthur C. Clarke, all those guys, they propelled this vision of future or futuristic AI and computing back in the days. And then people tried doing that, and then they hit a roadblock. 1970s, we had the winter or the freeze in terms of like what people were trying to do with AI, right? How are we doing on time? Good. Okay, good. So in 80s, there was again boom, and then 88, again winter. 2012, 2013, that's when the whole thing started again. The cloud was there. Computing was not an issue. There were new algorithms, new style of doing neural networks, doing machine learning using neural networks. So why are we here today? There are two aspects to it. One is obviously technology, and if you guys are here on a Friday evening, that tells that you are very, very interested in tech in general and AI. You know the significance of this new tool that we have invented. So we'll give an overview of how it works and how we can leverage this personally, professionally, and be more educated about the technology. And there is a social aspect to this. Build a community, have discussions, do networking, collaborations, education, be better aware of the pros and cons of the tool. Like with any other tool, if it's very sophisticated, you have to be careful about handling it and using it too, right? It's just a tool. If you don't know, it's just a shining sword sitting there that's sharp on both sides, you won't be approaching it. There will be fear because you don't know how to use that and which way to handle it. Do you handle it from the pointy end or do you handle it from the other end, right? So it's about that. And then understanding the impacts, the socioeconomic impacts of this whole thing. It's a paradigm shift. We are, I think, all in this together in terms of the trust or the lack thereof in the technology, how it works, how it can be used both for the benefit and for the other side. So all the images that are here, so what I did was I prompted the AI to generate these images. I said, generate Greek statues of a human thinking. So I didn't put like a man thinking, I just put a human thinking just to see what comes out. And 3 of the 4 images, in my opinion, this looks like a girl, are men. So that is the kind of bias that we are dealing with, because all these models, large language models specifically, are trained on the large language that the humanity has produced over its entire history. So most of that is written by and for men, including the religious books. So there is an inherent bias in the text that goes into training these things. If you are a carpenter, if you are a woodworker, you would know that there are certain tools. If you are a left-handed, any left-handed person in the room? Yeah. So if you are a left-handed person, you will know the struggle of finding the tool that are typically used by right-handed people, or not used by, designed by right-handed people. Guitars, scissors, yes. X, what else? Keyboard, mouse, numpad is on the right side. Watches, yeah, that is true. And if we are in Canada, we have to talk about field hockey, like hockey sticks. Or actually, hockey, left-handed hockeys sell twice as much as right-handed hockeys, because most players in the history have been left-handed. Even today, for every 2 left-handed hockey sticks, 1 right-handed hockey stick is sold. But that's just a fact. Anyways, angle grinder, if you are familiar with that, you cannot find an angle grinder in Home Depot that is built for left-handed people, right-handed. And there are actual incidents or accidents that happen just because of that. So those are the kind of biases we are dealing with. And but we got to be careful about how we use it, how we understand it. There are some definite real concerns with this technology, but I think with better education, maybe at some point regulation, it will probably get better. So now that was the overview. That's why we are here. It's not so much meant to be a lecture on how to make LLMs, but more to set the ground, both emotionally, ethically, technically, of where to go and where we are, sort of. So with that, I've learned a lot from Sandeep, my co-speaker here. Over the past, we have known each other for the last 20 plus years now. We went to the same undergrad university in India, and I moved to the US for my PhD in 2005. But we have been in touch, and I learned a lot from him, and he is a machine learning expert. So I'll let him talk about like how machines work.
Thank you. Thank you. Sandeep will further providing deeper understanding on, I think, the powerful technology that we can learn in the future, but also talk about mistakes and reasons why AI is relevant now, with examples and content understanding. Sandeep, over to you.
All right. So, good part is that my part is going to be a bit boring. So, I want to promise one thing to all of you, that whatever I'm going to talk about, I'll make sure that even the people who have never worked in technology, have not known machine learning, would understand it. And yes, and those who have already been working in the field of machine learning, they will find the explanations to be intuitive enough that they can build instinct about the models. All right. So with that, one of the things, let me see how many of you understand how do the machine learn. We heard a lot about machine learning. Okay. Okay. Good. All right. So anybody wants to share with you?
I can pass it.
Done in new chat. Yeah.
Maybe on the spot. So I'll say that machines learn from that they learn from data that they sense or that they receive as input.
Okay.
And they
Okay.
abstract that data into patterns and then use those patterns to influence the world around them.
Okay. Very good. Very good. So I'll go a little one step ahead of what you explained. You explained very well. So how exactly? Like we said that it learns from the data, but how exactly? Right? It sounds obvious that human, you show 2 + 2 is 4, 2 + 3 is 5, and human can figure it out and learn from the example data. But how exactly? The machine is not a living being. It's electricity roaming around in your registers and capacitors. How does it learn? So that's a hard thing to think about. So, so basically, the way, right, I'll just skip this part. So, yeah. So the way you can think of machine learning model as bunch of knobs, right? You must, when you take a shower in a new hotel, if you went to a new city and it's a new hotel and you don't know much about the shower there, so you have 2 knobs, and you'll spend like first 10 minutes twisting these knobs to figure out whether you are getting good temperature and flow, right? So that's you who is fine-tuning these knobs, and these knobs are something that represent like machine learning model. And once it is trained, next day when you take bath, you'll just twist it to the same point and there. So the way you can think of a machine learning model is millions of knobs. Or you can say, in case of ChatGPT, it has billions of knobs. So what we do is we, yeah, go back. Yeah. So essentially, when we think about machine learning, it has got 2 aspects to it. One is a learning phase, and second is a inference phase. Learning phase is when we are twisting these knobs, you know, like the first day. That takes time to figure out the position of the knobs. So when we say learning is figuring out those positions of the knobs that suit your expected output. While the inference phase is where you use this model as is, like taking back. So in the same way, ChatGPT was tuned by twisting around 100 billion knobs. So when we say ChatGPT and we are using it, it's 100 billion knobs that have been twisted to meet the expected output. And yeah, so the question that comes is that how does a ChatGPT kind of model works? So we understand that when we say learn from experience, as Makhan said that initially this, okay, all right. So let me figure out what's a good position. Yeah. So as Makhan said, that initial phase of humanity was busy in writing, creating syntactical rules about language. Then the next era, after 1980s, we started with coming up with the machine learning models, figuring out those knobs that work, and we let the machines figure out those positions of knobs that fit the data. Rather than we tweaking the knobs, we are letting the electricity tweak the knob for us. And after 1980s, a lot of this has happened right? We kept on increasing the size of the model, complexity of the model, different styles of the model. And most of it, the one that has been successful has been the way we arrange these knobs in the form of a neural network. Okay, that's a fairly complex thing, but I just want to give you a glimpse. The way you can think of the different kind of neural networks is like different arrangement of knobs that seems to work, right? If you ask a scientist that how exactly neural network figures out, right? I can guarantee that those who give you the good answer are probably lying, okay? Because people do not know. It's essentially like if you have billion knobs lying here and you ask that which of these knobs is giving you the correct output, you can't tell. You can't tell. And there's a lot of research that goes into interpretable AI, but still it's difficult. Now, the next thing comes in is that how does, it's all okay until it's numbers, it's all okay. But we are learning from the data and predicting. But how does this machine learns to predict a word? Okay, how did the ChatGPT learn? So go ahead. Yeah, imagine. So when people were training GPT, what they were doing is they were giving first part of the phrase. Remember that wherever yacht, and then heart is the expected output. So we tweak these knobs until we get heart as the output. And we keep on doing that. I keep going. Next. And then we say, remember that wherever your heart is, our expected output is you. So we again tweak these knobs and until we get the desired output as find the treasure. Can you go back? Yeah. So remember that wherever your heart is, you'll find the treasure. And we'll make it run over and over. So now imagine doing this on the entire data from internet. And these knobs are, as you finish one sentence and pick up another sentence, knobs are same. So they also forget, okay? And overall, it learns to predict data. It learns to predict one word at a time. So when you are using ChatGPT, it's actually predicting one word at a time. It predicts one word, puts that into input, calls the model again, gives another word, and that's how it generates the entire sentence. So question is the prompt, answer is the answer. Answer is the completion of the same thing. So if you think about it, there was somebody asked me this, that fine, when it encounters some other words here in another sentence, what does it do? Okay, it basically forgets a lot of things. So these knobs again get tuned. So essentially, there's a little bit of lie I said here. When I said that it predicts one word as output, it does not predict one word. It predicts your dictionary size of words. If you have 10,000 words in your dictionary, it gives out 10,000 probabilities, and highest probability one is what I've shown here, right? When you hear that people changing temperature of ChatGPT, what they are doing is they are also giving a chance to the second most popular word, or second most probable word. Okay, so it basically, essentially, ChatGPT or GPT learns to predict a word. We teach it to predict a word by twisting these knobs. And that's what has gone in. And when people say that, okay, ChatGPT will become faster and all of that, now you know that the amount of time ChatGPT will take an answer is unpredictable because it depends on how many words are there in the outcome. Because model is called once for one word. So if there are 500 words and each word is taking half second, it's going to take 250 seconds. So basically, the reason I wanted to give you an idea of how it's trained is so that you build intuition around it. Because when you are talking about tomorrow in your organization, when people talk about that tomorrow OpenAI will make it super fast. No, it can't. And remember, it can't be parallelized because you can't make it parallel because the next word needs to be predicted after the first prediction of the previous word. So you have to feed it again. So it has to be sequential. So it's a very important aspect. So this is, though I agree that it's a 10,000 feet overview of what's going underneath, but I hope you got the gist of it. All right. Now, the another important aspect of LLMs I want to talk about is that many of my friends and when I was just before coming to Canada 2 months back, I was working with a company. I was heading their AI. It's a company called DevRev, and what I found is that most of the engineers had no idea how they could utilize this revolution. Everybody thought that LLM or ChatGPT is all about generating outcome, and it's not going to be much useful. So 5 minutes. Okay. So there are 2 ways you can use the ChatGPT. The first way is using text response that you all know. You can utilize it to rephrase your bad English, like me, and then you can use it to generate SQL. Those who do not know, you can actually use it to generate really complex queries, and that's some way they have done a good fine-tuning on generating SQL. The next one is mapping generation. When you are integrating data, then you can do translation, summarization, content creation, and then there is something called plugins. You should check it out, and many more. Now, the second way, the second part I want to talk about quickly is embedding. Embedding is something that not many people talk about it, right? So it's about translating a sentence into a bunch of numbers. Translating a sentence into a bunch of numbers. And using these AI models is so effective, like I was trying to given the reviews on the app, I was trying to figure out which of these reviews are duplicate. So all I did was computer embedding, put these numbers together, the things that are similarly close by in these numbers, I just put them together and remove the rest. So that way, I was able to utilize it. So what people usually do, this is a bit of time, I'll take say 5 more minutes. So the most important part about LLM revolution is this, that is not informed to many people. And this revolution is essentially these numbers that are coming out, they are very more meaningful as opposed to any other way we have represented language so far. For example, the feline friend say mew, so you can see that those two are related. And then canine companion says woof, and so on. And then here. So if you take these numbers, put it on a graph, you will find that similar things are together, while these similar things are far away. And here, this is 2-dimensional way. We are plotting this in 2 dimensions. But this is 500 or 1,000 dimensions. So basically, these language models translate text into numbers on which we can do a lot of maths. We can do lots of machine learning on top of it. All right, so you can see that. So here is a good visualization. So we have like 4 sentences. How old are you? What's your age? My phone is good. Your cell phone is good. When you compute the distance, you can see that what's your age and how old are you are very close by, while this and this are way far away. So similar sentences have a smaller distance as compared to dissimilar sentences. And that's the power of embedding. So So OpenAI or most of the large language models also give you these embeddings. Same thing is presented here, that the sentences which are very similar are basically dark colored. The ones that are not similar at all, they are light ones, and everything in between. Now, with this knowledge, so first way of utilizing the large language model was just generating text. Second is by generating numbers, by converting the text into bunch of numbers. And how do you utilize these bunch of numbers? You can do the semantic search, find out what's a knowledge base article. You can build the entire search engine on your code base. You can build chatbot, you can build knowledge base article recommendation, and so on. And even that, like if you want to just figure out whether a particular review is negative or positive, compare it with the word negative. And you can just compare it with the word negative, and then you can figure out whether it's a negative or positive. Yeah. The other way is doing the standard machine learning on top of these numbers, training new models, and chaining the models together. That way you can do really, really complex things with the large language models embeddings. And this is actually pretty good. Like if you compute the distance between I am good and the French translation of I am good, the distance is very small as compared to I am good and some other sentence. So you can build your models to predict the ratings of your customer. If let's say customer gave you a feedback and you want to turn it into a number, you can use the large language model and train it. Similarly, you can do classifications and you can do a number of things like the machine learning. Classification is a part of machine learning, and with the LLMs, you can do that with the embeddings. Here is a simple way of categorizing the reviews into buckets. So you can basically take the embedding, plot it, and figure out this is called unsupervised learning. So the entire of machine learning, those who are from machine learning background, you can do a lot of model training on top of the embeddings. All right. So with that, I invite Alan. Thank you.
I think I know we are very fast, but
okay.
We have a good panel discussion that
okay.
we have, and
okay.
I think you can ask questions and very interesting for the speakers.
Okay.
And you and then we'll talk about how long First of all, thank you for everyone in join our meetup today. Welcome to LD. Today I'm gonna basically go through what you're doing. ML is the long years. AI obviously is all these new waves that as a company we want to tap into, and try to give you a sneak of what we try to do. Obviously, we're having two amazing talks that we just had. It's one of these things where you ever had a kid, with the kid coming back and saying, why am I studying all this math, right? And why am I going to do this is it, right? And how do you actually apply this in a business? So, first of all, for us to understand, just kind of give you a high overview of what we do at our team, right? And we'll talk about how we're applying some ideas that we'll be working on, and then also ourselves, we would once on the software engineering side, how do we actually promote that? We always got very wave of these themselves. We know a lot of brands, and local digital in particular, we know all the digital, right? So on the website, on the app that you have, we have on the grocery business, right? pharmacy, a digital pharmacy, beauty, apparel, all the program as well. Right? So the people on the third floor here actually do all this, both the front end and the back end, all the integration, all the data, all the intelligence that goes behind it. Actually, here. Now we'll go through some of the application. First off, this was a no-brainer, right? So our these express outlets get a lot of traffic, a lot of orders going through, and obviously not perfect, right? When we have pickers going through the store, basically picking the orders, right? Things get missed, right? Things maybe on the shelf, just an hour ago, right? We no longer be here because it's not picked up. Now, when the customers actually shows up here, pick up the items, pick up the orders, they're not happy, or it was a delivery, right? Acts, breaks, right? Some of your vegetables may not be as fresh as you want. You need help, right? I think today we have a very fundamental rudimentary way for them to get help, right? Going forward, what we want to do is a more chatbot-driven, conversational, right? So they don't feel like they're talking to a robot. They don't have to call a store. They don't have to send us an email. We'll use obviously we have to feed in a lot of data, and then we'll have to do that safely, securely, right? You don't want one user or one customer figuring out, your neighbor's order, right? Try to basically figure out their credit card, their past history, right? Cancel the order because you're upset with them the other day. So how do we actually isolate it, right? How do we feed those data in safely, your PII data and not leaked? So those are some of the challenges, but chatbot is definitely one of the use cases we're looking at to drive costs down. So next one. A lot of this beyond just ChatGPT style, right? Conversational. How do we enhance? How do we inspire our shoppers, right? So imagine based on what you purchased a couple of days ago, based on what you have in your cart, right? We recommend what you would also want, right? We could do meal planning. We could suggest other similar product, right? So if you have chips, maybe you want your salsa sauce as well, right? Same thing on the picking side too, right? Like I said, when a picker is going through the aisle and the particular items on the orders is no longer there, right? We could help our pickers, right? Find the right substitutions, right? And a lot of this could also be based on the personalization too, right? Based on that individual, that customer, what they've liked, what they don't like in the past, right? We could generate pretty intelligent recommendation. So, all right. iMyself also runs the retail media ads business. In fact, there is a lot of use cases in that space to actually help advertiser grow, right? As a platform, how do we be more intelligent, right? And help our advertiser grow our business. Imagine, trust me on this. I did not have a chance to look at Sandeep back before I put this out. We actually do a lot of that embedding, right? A lot of that vector to find a set of products that the advertiser want to promote. What keyword, right? Do they want to bid on, right? How do we run bot match, right? So if they're bidding on milk, chocolate milk, right? How do we actually match it with whole milk, 2% milk, but not milk chocolate, right? Using that could actually make our platform, right, one, more intelligent, right, for advertisers, right, and two, make our platform actually run these auctions a lot better, a lot smarter, right? So So customer like you and me shopping, that whole experience is a lot more smoother, right? As opposed to, hey, random unrelated items showing up, we could use this to actually rank and filter our ads. So, right. So those are some just very high level ideas. Part of the other part of the challenges is actually coming up with those ideas, right? Like find areas where we can apply, right? Where we could actually, go beyond just, it's fun, it's cool, it's nice to show your friends to something that's like actually impactful to business. So what we did is we've created internally a gateway, right? We call it Garfield. It's basically for our colleague, our developer, our product managers, our data scientists. As opposed to throwing a lot of our sensitive data, right, onto the internet, right? We give them a platform, right, for them to actually test out in a safe and secure environment. When a couple months back, when ChatGPT came out, right? One of the first thing that some of our developers was, hey, can we use this by code? Can I generate a lot of my, can I do a lot of my day work, right, through ChatGPT? Valid, awesome. But how do we do that without them actually, uploading our entire code base, onto the internet, right? So this is kind of where we started, where we could funnel, we could provide this, sandbox playground for our colleagues to, throw ideas in, and solidify their business ideas. So we go to next slide, right? So we could do both text and the images. We'll start with the text. So, this is just, something that I threw up yesterday, right? How do I actually, if I were to build a notification email, right? ChatGPT could help me actually build all of this, right? If I want to just come up with the right, if I'm building the website on the front end, right? What works, really speak to our customer. Our colleagues can use some of this to help them out. One of the things that we, as we build these platforms too, we also make sure that we pass the data through, DLP, right? Just removing the PII data as part of the platforms too. Different models that they could connect to. In the background, we've also implemented, well, on the network security side, right? Making sure it's behind a firewall, right? Making sure things are not leaked to the internet. At the same time, the right monitoring, alarming, right? Just to make sure that our colleagues, when using these tools, are generating work appropriate content. So something that we done also in the background, just to make sure that this is in fact a safe environment, beyond just secure, but a safe environment. Let's go next slide. This is yet another example. Chances are I'm not gonna use some of these, you're not going to see these pictures in any of our real app, but you get the ideas, right? Imagine next day I need to, write a proposal for my senior leaders, and we could add some of these content just to prove a point, right? As opposed to actually finding these on the internet, or actually paying for model, but just kind of tools for our colleagues to spice up their imagination. So go next. Yeah, so having a tool is one thing. The other thing as a culture that we're driving also is actually dedicating time, right? Actually encouraging our developers just go beyond just doing delivering their day job, but giving them that space, some of that freedom to do hack days. And just to kind of give you a little bit more ideas in terms of some of the creativity. There's grocery use cases, right? We talked through some of them earlier. We also work very closely with our PC Health division, right? So we're thinking about a lot of use cases there. How do you help customer, find healthcare provider, appointment time? How do we analyze big data, right? Track and find patterns, give them actual, useful advices, right? How do we help them manage treatments? So it's not just limited to our actual day-to-day business space that we work in, but giving them that room to actually think a little bigger, right? It's actually leveraging the breadth of law companies, right? We also have PC Financial on the other floors here. So giving our developer a chance to actually innovate. So but yeah, I think that's the last slide here. We'll go to. Perfect.
Thank you, Aaron. I think it's a great insights into how we use cases. So I think we've seen a great transition from Margaret talking about satellites, using Gen AI by NASA, to Sandeep talking about specifics into how ChatGPT works, applications for us, and Alan talking about in the real world how to use this. I think it's super insightful.
So what I would do is, I don't want to kind of bore all of you with more monologues. I want to keep it more interactive. So I kind of, we kind of organize like a panel kind of a discussion where I have like very 1 or 2 questions from our side, which shared by the audience. And I would love you to please interact and ask questions. So this is more panel plus a live interaction Q&A. And even we are taking questions from online audience as well. So let's start, please. Okay, super awesome. I think you can remove. I think we can go to the first slide. Yeah, first slide. Yeah. Online questions. I'll have it.
And don't hold back if you have some hard questions. Just
let
it out.
We want hard questions, right?
Why not?
No, I think it's super amazing. Thanks everyone for sharing your insights. So I don't want to bore the audience with many questions, but there are these few questions which have been taken from online audience and a mix of few people. These are like some questions that many people ask. Maybe this is I'll start with Makhan. Makhan, I think with your experience at NASA, you've really seen breakthrough innovations of technology, especially with AI, where you spoke about how satellites measure, temperatures, weather changes, and including, I've even heard that, NASA also makes specific parts, to kind of, create that. How do you envision the next significant breakthrough in AI and LLMs? What do you envision there?
Okay. I don't have the crystal ball, so I can't predict the future. But I can tell you that first we need to perfect what we have. There are lots of limitations with the current scheme of things, the way it is right now. Since it's based on all the historic data, the large language models, it's large language, everything that we have written so far, research articles, literature, poems, everything. The model consumes all that, creates a, if I can call it, a mental structure of the content, and then try to predict, like Sandeep said, predict the next word, next sentence, next paragraph, next thought. In doing so, sometimes it hallucinates. It spits out information that's not true, and that can be a dangerous thing if we are using the tool, again, without understanding the limitations. So I think the first thing where we are going with that is we have to fix all the problems with the existing technology. It's not a silver bullet for everything, but it's a good start. Regarding the future, there are a lot of ways these technologies are being used currently. Like I mentioned, like one of my colleagues, he's working on generating actual mechanical parts that can go on either spacecraft or some instrument. We do CAD, computer-aided design, right? Where the parts are more geometric. There are triangles, there are circles, there are cylinders and things like that. But that's because we are limited in our thinking in how the part should look like. Car has to be a certain way. But if you ask a generative AI how this specific part should look like, given these properties, like this is the property of the material, and then these are the specifications that we want. It has to be stronger right here, for example, chair. Then AI is not limited by what we are limited by. We have seen chairs since we were like small kids. So we think in certain ways. We have those biases, or we limit ourselves to how we design things. AI does not. You give it like, I want a chair, it will design a chair that looks like something else, but it's really comfortable to sit in, because it only thought about the parameters and not about the mental constraints that we have as humans when we design things, right? So it can design some really weird looking things that will have like real use. So that's where we are going, I think.
So true. Thank you, Makhan. I think what I understand is what you're saying is so evolving that it's changing so dynamically that there are a lot of use cases that can start coming in. But I think, like you said, it's pretty interesting to see how AI is being used.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, thank you. The question is to Sandeep. Sandeep, one of the interesting things that's happening around the world is now the ChatGPT, Bard, everybody has a wide available knowledge, including companies. So companies can access knowledge. In this era of ChatGPT, Bards, how do you think as an enterprise, companies can create their moat, defensive moat? Because the same information is available with everyone now.
Yeah. So I think that's a very good question, and I think I get asked this question very often. But what's there in it for me? I like ChatGPT is already there, and everything is rooted to ChatGPT. What is my significance? Am I just going to be some prompt engineer, or what is it? Or what's there in it for me? Okay. Second perspective of the same question is that already it is doing so much. Is my work irrelevant anymore? Right. So I think the best way to think of it is as if human learned. I mean, let's go back to the time when human learned to tame horses. They figured out that they can domesticate horse. Now, on one hand, the people who used to pull the cart manually and were earning by pulling the cart manually, they were losing jobs. At the other end, a new economy was about to flourish. There were some people who learned to build horse riding material, the people who learned to become like horse doctor. There are people who learned to, design new kind of carts. The people who became people who learned the art of grooming or breeding horses. So you see that same thing has happened post ChatGPT. After GPT-2 came out and people discovered that this bunch of knobs or GPT can be utilized to solve real problem, and they are like good learner. Like the main reason why GPT became ChatGPT was because people discovered that the GPT is, this autocomplete thing is actually pretty good learner, pretty quick learner. Same way. So now coming back to the main question is, where is the ecosystem around LLMs or ChatGPT, right? What's the ecosystem? What should I build? Now, as like we all three of us have started this company called Meetup, like our vision is very clear in the same way. Around the large language model, a lot of economy is going to emerge. There will be softwares that will be doing the knowledge management system. There will be chat agents. There will be machine learning models on the chat agents. So there are lots of new mechanics is about to emerge, and it's emerging. It's already started. The way you design workflows, those who are from workflow engine background, so you have like business rule engines. So people were having the specific UI with which people were designing the workflows, but not anymore. You can just write the way you instruct your shopper, that I have to go there. In the same way, you can instruct your large language model, and it can design the entire workflow for you. So similarly, and if you think deeper, we learned to interact with computer or any system by the way of like, first we learned the language, of course. So in childhood, we learn to speak, we learn to talk. That's how we communicate. But with machines or systems, we basically design these UX elements, the user interfaces. That user interface is not valid anymore. There's a new form of user interaction elements, new way of thinking of information as a knowledge is emerging. So workflow engines, your SQL editors, your almost every kind of thing, when we think about it. So the software engineering is taking a complete revolution now. It's going to, I mean, almost every aspect of software engineering is going to, is developing new features. And in the same way, the way after the horse came in, some other people went on and tamed other animals and so on. In the same way, we are also discovering and innovating in parallel LLMs, like Llama 2 is there, they're fine tuning it. The people are building new sorts of like, flow engines. So I think the reason I talked about how things are built, the reason I talked about the machine learning and entire thing was because I believe that everyone has to be educated about the underpinnings of this infra, and because only then the newer generation of things will happen.
No, very well said, Sandeep. I think you mentioned a good point that new economy, new ecosystem getting created, I think is a great opportunity. That's why a lot of new companies are building innovative tools like workflow engines, even knowledge management systems that are emerging around LLMs. I think is the way to go. That's what I understand. Alan, I think thanks for sharing your insights on how Loblaw Digital is, I would say, transforming. I can see there is a lot of automation going on in the operation side of things, like picking, influencing around those. How has the thought process in the company changed after generative AI? Especially, I want to really know your strategic planning process, decision-making process across different organizations. Is it just a test? Or is really Loblaws thinking seriously? We would love to know more, because Loblaws is a pretty large, respectable brand. So how does that happen within the company?
Yeah, no, awesome question. As a company, one of the things that I've been really impressed with is how serious and committed we are at a company in technology. There's a couple of things. I think earlier this year, when ChatGPT wave, came up, excitement happened at every level, right? Obviously, our devs were pretty excited, right? Our leadership, at my level, at the LD level, is pretty excited. We already started thinking about what we could do as a company, right? At the same time, at the LCL company level, right, all the way up to our CEO Galen, top down, he wanted to make sure we're investing, right? We are staying ahead of the curve, right? We are prioritized. We are looking for opportunity. So it's not just a Loblaw Digital, pet project. It is actually company-wide. We're looking, top left center for opportunity and prioritizing it, making sure the right projects are funded, right priorities are in place. The other week, quite a few of us were in Vegas for a grocery shop conference, right? So we have, a lot of the North American grocers, together at a conference, and quite a few worldwide too. And, the use of ML, Gen AI, is front and center. I think as a group, we were glad, and we were, just to some extent proud that, as a company, we are, part of that leading path, right? And we want to continue to do so, right? Because it's not just us who could see the potential, or the unlocks that ML and Gen AI could bring forward. Our competitors are doing the same, and especially as leader in the Canadian, grocer, pharmacy industry, we want to continue that way. So, expect us to continue to invest, and myself, as a software engineer, I'm just excited to be part of that journey. So.
Thank you. I think it's super awesome to hear that a big retail brand like Loblaws is pretty serious about how generative AI can be used, and today we showcase some of those examples. Thank you, Alan, for sharing this insight. I have 2 more questions, and then I'll leave the audience, to audience to ask questions. And this is open, so anybody can take it among all 3 of you. One of the question that came up is, as a young professional working in a company, and AI is evolving so rapidly, maybe I'm getting outdated. What new skills and competencies should young professionals think about in the era of AI? Because it's evolving so rapidly.
So yeah, before coming to Canada, I was running a company called CloudxLab, and I have taught probably 250,000 people who have learned at my platform. So I can answer this question. Okay. So yeah. So what I believe is that like the way we all learned electricity in our 10th grade, right? That these are parallel, this is sequential, all of this. I believe that the understanding of machine learning has to be more fundamental to the education, starting from probably high school. And I believe that when kids can learn calculus at the age of, let's say, in 11th grade or so, I think most of it can be learned. That is the first thing right? And for every young professional who is into software engineering, my strong recommendation always is to learn how do you at least do the end-to-end machine learning one project. And you should know how you can do the classic machine learning. And then, I mean, though the LLM, large language model, is there and lots of things are happening, my suggestion is that make sure that you are through with the end-to-end project, because as I said that the embeddings, over the embeddings, you can build all sorts of models, like Ellen talked about, that they have a search, recommendation, and everything. And all of that is done on top of the large language model and using your own machine learning. Now, other than that, now for the other professionals, those who are, not in the, let's say, as a software engineer, I'll just address the software engineer first. So as a software engineer, you get acquainted with the end-to-end project, know how to deploy things, how to build things. Second, there was this pride in typing a language. Lots of engineers took this pride in typing the language. Like, I remember Java programmers who used to take pride in typing language.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is that utilize large language model to generate your code. And rather than you typing the code, you be the architect. So even if you are an SD1, like the entry-level software engineer, think of yourself like a like an architect, and then utilize all of these things to solve your problem. Similarly, if you are a designer, utilize the technology like Adobe Firefly or other things to generate the graphics for you. Similarly, if you are a writer, probably use ChatGPT to generate ChatGPT to generate a full-fledged articles for you. And there are a lot more things. And similarly, the way like the software that we are writing, the Meetup, for example, what we are thinking is that instead of you replying, let's say you are into a customer service, and every time a customer is asking the same question, you are answering the same question, right? Instead of answering the same question over and over, and you are busy in the mundane work and not thinking. So with the new era coming in, you design the constitution for ChatGPT, saying that you basically design great prompts along with the entire the way ChatGPT can understand how, let's say you are a credit card company and you are supposed to you are a customer service person in a credit card company. So you can essentially write down the constitution for the entire credit card system, that was a limit, this, that, and when is expiry and all of that, and then let ChatGPT frame it for you. So you, instead of being busy in the mundane work, utilize all of this stack to make you serve your customer better, build things for the customer better. So I think that would be my message to everyone, whoever is listening to the talk.
Thank you, Sandeep. So what I understand from you is utilize the technology well for increasing your own efficiency and productivity, right? Versus doing mundane and routine work is the way to go.
Yeah.
And do one classic machine learning project end to end.
Yeah.
That will definitely help. Thank you. So I'll not bore everyone again. So I would want it to open to the audience for interaction and questions.
Thanks for that. I want to do, point towards you, sorry, for the global side of things, right? When you hire these engineers and to do approach that to your initiative, how important was your communication and business strategy useful to come up with use cases? So you're applying for technology over the years, right? And bots, you also code. But now, is it true that professionals not only have to learn the issue of that stage, but also the business side?
Just kind of repeat the questions. Right, at a high level is what we would basically look for. Right?
Technology is one aspect, right? But in order for you to exploit the Gen AI business strategy, and understanding your business is critical for someone to come up with these use cases that benefit, right? How is that communication and business?
Yeah, I think for anyone to be successful in the job, right? Technical or non-technical, whether you're a typical software engineers or a data scientist, machine learning scientist, understanding your business space, right? Understanding your end user, understanding the problem that needs to be solved is important, right? Especially if you want to grow, right? In your career. So a lot of times, whether it's folks that are existing on a team or whether we're hiring, the hard skill that they know today is one thing, right? Obviously that's important. Understanding where they are, what project we can leverage them in. If they come in, hit the ground running. The other to me personally, a bigger piece is do they have that ownership, right? Do they just gonna basically just get stuck in the role, or they're thinking broader, they're thinking longer terms, right? They're thinking about the user. They're thinking about business. Because I think in any role, right, to be able to apply your knowledge, right, to a new space and applying a new technology, it's more important than what you know today, right? So I think whether we're at the leadership level, building teams, right, we'll need a good mix of the existing skill set, right? Obviously, that get us going, but at the same time, especially if we were to build a successful long-term sustainable business, right? It's having the right people with the right passion, right motivation, right? That matches well to where we want the company to be. And obviously, we're in this way with a lot of MLs and AI, Gen AI. Obviously, people who are passionate in it. Those are the folks that we want to foster, right? We want to create a culture where people can grow beyond what they just know today. So, thank you.
My question is for Alan. So these product recommender systems and what will eventually become entrusted AI shopping assistants provide you and your team with quite a lot of leverage and what will be a lot of influence on the way that shoppers think about the shopping experience. I'm curious to hear how you're thinking about the responsibility that gives you. Are you going to be using this influence just to maximize profits, or are you going to be maybe steering people towards maybe making smarter choices when they're in the store or online?
Yeah, no, awesome questions. I think as a company, I think we do recognize and I think we do celebrate and we take it very seriously is such a big part that we play in everyday Canadians' lives, right? Whether they need to do their regular grocery shop, right? Whether they they have a sick kid at home, they need medicine. A lot of you likely gonna have PC Optimum points, one of our Canada's largest loyalty, and we take it very seriously, right? And internally, what you're gonna realize is that we beyond we're running a business, right? So there's revenue goals that every team wants to hit. At the same time, we also pay a lot of attention to our customer satisfaction, right? So we have goals around how do we improve those. We have projects to understand our customer behavior, right? So we can help them shop easier, better, finding the right project. And we have different groups at every level, right? To look at whether it's our responsibility to the environment, right? To diversity, and we have healthy tension, right, within the company to make sure that hey, we're not losing sight of these important aspects, and we're making sure we are looking at all these aspects, making the right trade-off. Sometimes there will be trade-off. There's that healthy tension, right? And to kind of give you a very specific examples, right? When we actually built out our P6 app, right? We have teams, and we have GMs and VPs that are very focused and very keen on making sure the customer experience is high, right? We keep track of that score every day, right? Whether you could be an app user and you go onto the app store and you rate those apps, we look at those very seriously in every single feedback. And then there's healthy tensions where we have groups that look at ads revenue, right? And they'll counter that too, right? We have groups that look at our operational excellence, right? Whether our picker at the store themselves are actually working at the right pace, right, and not exactly overworked. We don't want to send them too many orders when they can't handle it, right? So there's a lot of these healthy tension, right? And obviously, as a company, we take it very seriously, making sure we have the right team, right people looking at the different objectives, making sure they're hitting them, but at the same time we're not overloading on one aspect with the other. So
that's one here, and I'll go over there. Thank you. Hi, I have a general question, and Giri can take it up. Do you think, based on your experience in the industry, there are companies out there who limit their employees when it comes to using ChatGPT because of IP theft or data breaches? And as somebody who is an entry-level data analyst or data scientist like myself, what are some of the questions that we should confirm with our managers before we dive into using ChatGPT, especially for companies that don't have any specific rules and regulations in terms of using ChatGPT?
I think that's a very good question, and that's relevant not only to companies, it's relevant to students at universities, in schools, writing reports, summaries, and things like that. What's at the root of that notion is the feeling that it's cheating and you can't use it too. But in essence, what this is really a tool. Think about like when screwdriver was invented and people were like, okay, only a few people can use screwdrivers and not the rest of us. So the inevitability of the situation is that eventually everyone will get it and should get it. And we should democratize all of this technology. But at the same time, we have to be mindful about being aware and educated enough about its capabilities and use it to that effect. And not use it to write your summary papers or write your code and everything. So like Sandeep said earlier, what I read somewhere was AI will not replace you. A person using AI will replace you. What that means is none of the tasks as we know it today can be fully delegated to AI. But 80% of each task that we do today can be delegated to AI. What that means is we will always need people, but those people will be efficient because they will be spending 80% less time that they delegate to AI or AI tools, and then they can use most of their time to actually doing what humans are best at. So let's delegate, let's have a common vision as a user, as a company owner, as a dean of a school, as a student, as a society, as someone who is creating these tools, to make sure that we have to adopt this tool, and we have to shift our thinking paradigm in this accommodating this new technology. I think that's what I can say about it.
I think there was one more aspect to your question, that leaking the private information, right? So I think in addition to what Makhan said with respect to the using it, I would say that in any way, keep your confidential information in place. Let's say you are working with Amazon, right? So, and you want to figure out how to do something like you have to respond to a customer which is having such and such problem, and you want to ask ChatGPT to compose a reply, right? So instead of saying that I am working at Amazon, you say that I am working at a large e-commerce company, and or instead of saying Loblaws in the chat, say that I'm working at a large, commerce company, retail commerce company. I am working at such, and instead of gleaning the name, you just mask it with something else. I think that is one simple thing. And I think just with everything else, the managers and everybody would try to impose a restriction on use case. But soon enough, I think a bit of literacy on prompt engineering, clever prompt engineering with masking would be sufficient to handle the privacy. And yeah.
Before the next question, I want to tell all of you that there is good pizza pop after the session, so please have it and it's kind of a continuation to what, but it's kind of a continuation. It's kind of a continuation question. Let's say I'm working for healthcare projects, right? So I would like to train the data for a large language model, and I really don't want to pump in the whole data and train it. I just want to know the intuition. Like, let's say if I'm doing something from scratch, how this really works. Like, let's say there is a model which is having trained on complete global data, and then I'm going to train it on the healthcare data and only use it for my sake. Like, is it possible? Like, because that kind of machine power might not be, difficult to acquire, correct? So I'm just trying to, my question is like, let's say I can't let the whole data go into the globe, and how can I secure, or how can I keep only specific for my domain, or how can I do that?
Okay. You want to take it?
Multiple ways of doing that. One, if you have an IT department or research department large enough, you can make your own large language models and post it locally or in your own infrastructure. That's one. Another is what's called RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. So you train a local vector database. You create a local vector database with the embeddings from your domain-specific data that resides with you. And whenever the question comes, you find the most relevant documents from the embeddings that you have created, that you have control over. And then once you retrieve the relevant documents that relates to the question, you can mask it, like Sandeep said earlier, and send it to an OpenAI or any open system. And you are not leaking any data. You're only sending the context to this large language model API and then getting the answer back. There are two ways of doing this.
It's like I mask the data and pump it to the model, and then.
Yeah, first step is to create the embeddings on your local system that is not masked. Then you ask the question, pose the question to your local embedding, and then get all the contextually relevant documents or the domain-specific document that have all the secret sauce data. And then you feed all the documents that are relevant to the question to an external API by masking it, all the private information, things like that. So,
thank you.
Yeah. In addition to what he is saying, in addition to like the approaches that he's given, make sure that if, let's say, your company is saying that you cannot generate embedding using OpenAI, right? So because for generating embedding, you have to, again, calling it OpenAI, you are anyway exposing your data, right? So in that case, there are universal, like some models like universal encoding model by Google, that one is good. And so you can utilize those to generate embedding and then do the search, mask the data, send it to ChatGPT, get the answer. Or third option is have say Llama 2 or some other model. But trust me, training a model from the scratch does not make sense, right? Like when I joined a company or when I joined a college, I didn't learn from scratch. And even when I was born, I did not learn things from scratch. I inherited a lot of knowledge when I was born. So similarly, so even if you start to build a model from scratch just with your data, it's not going to make any sense. Okay, what makes sense is take, let's say, Llama 2 or similar model. There are quite a few models that have come up recently. Take one of those models which has been trained on large language, like large language corpus. And then you can retrain on your specific data locally that you can also do. Those are the three options. Yeah.
I assume that because I'm so used to creating the embeddings, I use local models. He's right. Don't use the remote model in that case to create the embeddings. Actually, OpenAI's embedding model is ADA version 3. And if you look at the leaderboard, it's at number 13 in terms of performance. So there are 12 open source models that are better than that, and you can run them locally, and they're not very expensive. And to his point about it doesn't make sense, it not only not makes sense to train your own model, it's bad. It's bad for the environment, it's bad for computation, it has a very large carbon footprint. One large language model trained is equivalent to like one car used for its entire lifetime. That's the kind of carbon footprint we are talking about. So there are other things also. You can take the same model that was trained and then do PEFT, which is parameter efficient fine tuning, if you are so inclined to do. So what that will do is it will remove the first few layers, the last few layers of the actual neural network, and then you can retrain the weights only for the outer layers of the deep network instead of training the whole network. So there are multiple techniques, but retraining the models doesn't make sense at all.
Oh, yeah. So my question is regarding the size of the LLM. So in the near future, do you think that we're going to keep going with like big LLM models that have 100 billions of parameters, and we use that for many tasks, or we're just going to focus on a much smaller models and fine-tune it for each specific task?
So if I understand the question correctly, you're asking if the models are going to grow and perform, or are they going to trim down and have the same performance?
No, my question is just want to know your opinions on, like, in terms of the real world application, like which direction we gonna go. Like we're gonna go with big models and to use that for many tasks, or we're gonna use a much smaller model, but we fine-tune each of them for each specific task.
Definitely fine-tuning for specific tasks, but that does not reduce the size of the model. But then again, there are models that exist for specific tasks. Because for example, I'm in research. There are models that are specifically trained for peer-reviewed research articles in Google Scholar and all those things. One of the earlier one was Galactica. Facebook trained that, and it came out before ChatGPT did. ChatGPT was November last year. And Galactica was mid of last year, but it had a very bad rep because they released it, Facebook released it, and then people were trying to churn out research papers and asking it to, like, okay, can you create a paper with equations and everything, summary and methods and everything, and create an actual scientific paper? It was doing that, and the scientific community was very offended with that how can it do that? It was not doing a very good job because even though it was trained on millions and millions of papers, research papers, but it was not keeping the scientific context, because science is very different from normal language. The information contained in scientific papers is very dense, and the context changes sentence after sentence too. So it's a very different kind of model. And to your point about large language models, right now, the models that we have everything from the beginning of humanity, everything that we have written until today. All of that might not be relevant. So models can get smaller, both in terms of the size it's trained on, number one. Number two, the amount of deep neurons that we have in the model. We don't need Shakespeare's writing to give us context in today's world. The only useful thing that the LLMs provide is how to write like humans, how to understand the context like humans. So that we can do with like a smaller corpus of text than larger. So I do see models becoming smaller and smaller. And the last few weeks, not months, if you look at the literature that's coming out, there are more and more models that are coming out that are trimmed down and have better performance than the previous ones.
Thank you.
Sorry, there's a question back.
All right.
Sorry. Thanks a lot for the talks. They were really good. I have a question for Alan, actually. So about the chat bot, the customer support bot that you mentioned in the presentation, how do you do the memory management? And because context length is a issue with these models. So memory management, like the long-term memory and the short-term memory, and how do you make sure that it scales?
Yeah, great questions. I think we're still very early in building that chatbot. I think this by the end of the year we would want to come up with a POC. And to be frank, I think we're just starting to think through as a, not just within LD, but with the larger company, the larger, at the company level, right? All the implications on, data privacy, how do we have isolation? So, one user's data is not going to bleed into the other. And also like what data we're comfortable, have the model trained on, right? Order history versus your payment history is also very different, right? So those are things that it's still very early for us as a company to think through. But obviously, at one point we'll have to look at how sophisticated and how smart that conversational AI can be trained to versus like is it actually usable, right? From a customer-facing context. So we're still very early. So apologies, I don't have a very specific answers to it, but it's something that we'll have to work through over the next weeks and months.
I hope that.
Okay, hello. Thank you for the presentation. My question is more generic, but it's about, so seeing how Gen AI and LLM has been evolving over the years, what are the current challenges you guys are facing either for research or for your business? Like on the business side, like for example, it's about how do you measure the accuracy of the responses you get? What metrics are you collecting? And on the tech, on the tech side, I was wondering, like either the size, the performance, or the infrastructure, or anything that is currently you're trying to work with.
At a high level, from a business perspective, ML or Gen AI related projects are, in a sense, like you're going to go through the same rigor, from a feasibility perspective, from a sizing perspective, from a budget perspective, right? At the end of the day, it's what do we invest as a company, whether it's human resources, right? Whether it's cost, right? Whether it's compute or infrastructure, right? The risks that we're going to run into, and obviously in this case, there's a lot from a security, from a data privacy perspective, and then trading off with the benefit, the business impact, right? Whether it's revenue, whether it is from a customer satisfaction perspective, customer experience perspective, those considerations are not very different. To be honest, whether it's a tech project or a non-tech project, right? But obviously, it's a company, and as your whether you're at all levels, right? Is how do you construct the kind of the proposal, right? The purpose, the impact, and making sure that the math checks out, right? To some extent, right? So your output, your result are actually greater than your input, right? And to some extent, understanding, again, like understanding what the business is keen on, right? What is it measured on, right? What are your customers, and actually, building that business case constructively. So yeah, obviously, I think there's more aspect that we'll have to start looking into in Gen AI related projects, versus our traditional, ML or even non-ML projects, and that's something that. As a management group, as a tech org, we are, we're learning too. But I think high level, the considerations are not very different.
If people talk about the AI port ETF, Elon Musk has a program to help Canadians get rich quicker. What do you guys say about this? How it work?
Honestly, I don't think any of us have the answer to it. Okay. So question is that does Elon Musk have an answer to the mortgage problem that Canadians are facing? That's the question, right? Yeah. So I don't know. You should tweet to Elon Musk and let him answer. And but in general, what I would say that people, as Makhan once said in our casual discussions, that we do not make money. People give us money, right? And when they give us money, when we do something for them, or give them a tool, or give them a technology. So if you want to get richer, or somebody wants to get richer, they need to provide some service, some product scalably. What does it mean by scalably? That you can serve, if you can serve more than one person at a time, and the number of people you can serve at a time, or even without your time, right? You will earn more. So in general, my simple economics of the new world is the people who build tools, that build tools to give service to people, they usually have a better chance of serving more number of people as compared to those who are serving directly. So I hope I made sense. Yeah.
I'll just add to that. It's the getting rich thing, right? As the amount that you earn should not be proportional to the time that you spend.
Yeah.
If you do overtime, of course, you'll get paid 1.5, but it has to be like he said, make things that earn for you rather than you earning by your time.
Utilizing
Yeah.
I ask your expertise, your understanding of your work, AI or ETL. Very much popular right now. People talk about a lot. At the same time, Elon Musk put a program in a national program talk about the special program for Canadians to make it Canadian reach it quick. That's my interview. What is the scam? Scam our ETL. Yeah, I know.
Okay, yeah. So I don't have a comment on that specific thing. I am a research and database rather than speculation and emotion based. So.
No, yeah. So I am 2 months into Canada. It's my second month. And
so, but basically, you don't know.
No.
But it is very clear to me. I was attending the talk at Waterloo by Donna, who was one of the Nobel laureates, and she said very interesting thing in her talk. And the talk was that any country who spends money into technology and research will make money for the society, right? As simple as that. So I think they not make money, earn money, and yeah. So I think that will be my summary. And I mean, utilize internet, utilize tools, utilize ChatGPT, utilize all these ideas. Probably you can do a successful business, do a successful service to the people.
That's it. I think just from a time perspective.
Yeah, one more and then sorry.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, yeah, we need pizza network with the speakers and
Let's take one more.
Yeah, so I have just a general question and a follow up to the very first question that we had here about like the development of AI. Like what's your predictions? So I want to take the question with like, how far should AI development keep going, keep progressing? In a short answer form, when should it stop? I'm not talking about like Hollywood propagandas like AI ending our humanity and all of that, but just like in general, how far you think AI should be developed, and what should be always looking for or avoiding while doing the development for AI?
I'll take a first stab and then I'll pass on the mic because I'm passionate about this subject. It's a hard question, but at the same time, so anytime any question is posed to me regarding AI, I think in terms of it's a very sophisticated, very useful tool. So that's the frame of mind when I try to answer such questions. So how far? There should not be limit. There shouldn't be limit on how far should be the use of a power drill be allowed. But at the same time, there are regulations. You can't make power drills that explode in the hands of people, right? So there are two parts to this one. And one is on the side of the people who create these tools, power tools, carpentry tools, AI tools. And the other side is the consumer side, who consumes these tools. Now, on the consumer side, we need to make sure that people don't get hurt. Any tool, just like it's a tool. And for that, there needs to be education about like how to use it, what the inner working is, what the pros and cons and all those things, right? On the creator side, the companies are creating these tools. Now, they need to be transparent on the capabilities and the dangers and all the pros and cons. And that's where probably I feel the regulatory bodies should step in to oversee, like these corporations' motives are to make money most of the times. And anytime when there is the motive is money making, it has to be regulated, because there can be some bad practices that can go because the end goal is making money. So some sort of regulation and ethics on the creator's side, and a lot of education and awareness on the consumer side, I think. And there should not be any limit on who can use it, who can create the tools. I don't think that's how humanity progressed. And even if you try to do that, there will be a large section of the society that will not conform to those vision or rules and regulations and all. So that's a moot point.
So actually, it's the other way. It's the other way, right? Like he can tell better, right? So most of the, right, like landing on the moon, for example, right? It was not in our daily agenda, right? Every person needs to go to the moon, no? A bigger agenda with respect to the science and technology is to push the limits. And I think my suggestion would be that rather than stopping, push the limits. And my point of view is exactly same as Makhan, that we need to make sure that the research is open. We are living in an era right now that all the research is available to everybody. Even though ChatGPT was created by OpenAI, but the fundamental paper came from Google. Ashish Vaswani published this paper on transformers. It's called Attention is All You Need. And the second paper in the sequence came in that large language models are few short learners. These two papers did not come from OpenAI alone. They came from other people. And the great part is that we are living in an era where research is open. The people who, there are quite a few, it's not only OpenAI who has built it now. There are so many people who have developed it parallelly. So now we are living in an era where research is open. So we just have to ensure that the research is open and we do not, have some unethical means of doing things. So I think, though the question is pretty hard, but the way I'm looking at it is let the research be more. And my personal perspective is the reason I want to teach everybody how the AI model works is that let's not build a mental block, or let's not consider it as a ghost, as a darkness. Instead, let everybody know that how does this thing work? And the more light we have, the more knowledge we have,
we have better progress for the humanity in general.
Just gonna quickly add. At the same time, I think the questions that you posted is not very different. You know, the AI or Gen AI is a tool, right? You could use it for great purposes. You could use it in many different ways. You know, in criminal ways. It's not very different than, you know, should we carry guns, right? You know, should we clone humans, right? And I don't think there's a quick answer. There's an easy answer, but you know, personally, I kind of feel like that's where things are at, and you know, I think as technologists, you know, I would focus on the science of it, right? You know, understanding what it can do for us. I think at some point, somewhere, someone's going to have to look a little closer at the ethic part of it, or the governance of it. But you know, if there's no one pushing it, it's also not going to go any further.
Yeah, so. I think good point. Just connected to what Makhan said, it's a very question also. Communication by enterprises, government, society, also because there are sections of societies which might communicate it in a very wrong way, like, right? Then that starts impacting us. That's how trust starts getting impacted. I think there's a big debate around, you know, all new technologies, like Makhan is saying, there should not be limits, but it has to be really handled well when it comes to communication and trust also. Because if one section of the society says, oh, this tool is bad, this technology is bad, and as a propaganda, it starts kind of moving up, then what happens? Innovation, you know, halts, right? Because the communication that you hear is actually not true, but it was presented in that way. So I think there is a big area. Makhan is also part of that. How do we create more trust and communication around science and innovation? I think this is also very important. So maybe I'll take one question from online, and then, you know, I will leave the floor open to just network and, you know, talk to the speakers, and, you know, all of us are please open on that. So one of the question, and any one of us can take it, is how do we provide security and privacy to customers in enterprise applications? Is there a way to tell OpenAI models to forget all prompts we send to once they respond? Will they retain any information we send?
So there is a saying that in God we trust, right? But still I lock my car. Okay. So my suggestion will be that even though no matter how much OpenAI promises that if you're taking a business account, we will not record your data, will not misuse your data, this, that. But I would say that still lock your car. Right? Any data that you're sending to any third party, make sure that you mask it. Make sure that you that it is not as is gleaning the information, right? So I think again, now when I say mask it, masking itself is a big technology, and you can't do it humanly, because when you are doing on a scale, you are sending, say, 500 queries per second or per minute. Now, how do you mask it? Now, again, the things that I discussed, like the named entity recognition, all of that part is a part of natural language processing and AI. So utilize AI to defend against OpenAI when you are using it. So
one question is specific to Alan is, how is LLM used in supply chain management? How is there a way that Logos is trying out or is using it? There's one of the questions around that.
You know, of course, you know, I think we are looking at a lot of different opportunity, different applications, right? In fact, you know, we touch on quite a few of the customer-facing use cases. At the same time, a lot of that underneath, you know, basically optimizes and reduces costs, right? You know, on the supply chain, on the operational side of it. You know, the chatbot on surface, it feels like a customer assistant tool. At the same time, it helps us reduce costs, right, at our call center, right? We used to take a lot of calls when you need to, refund your item, right? You have damaged goods. Now we have AI to drive that cost down. Also in the fulfillment space, in fact, like we do use a lot of AIs to basically forecast, predict, say, when the shipment's coming, what kind of order are we going to be expecting on Christmas Eve, right? How many labor do we need, right? On an October Tuesday, Friday, to help us one have the bandwidth to operate, but at the same time we don't have surpluses, right? We don't have a lot of people showing up, but they're not very busy working. So and all the way down to we talked about a lot of picking efficiency, suggesting substitutions, right? A lot of other AI would be looking at like pick path automations, right? Just like your traditional traveling salesman. So we do a lot of that to drive costs down, right? And a lot of time it goes all the way down to predicting like when do we have a lot of these items in stock when we're promising our customers that hey, our item is in stock, but when the items actually get delivered, is it when the picker shows up and actually pick it, is it actually going to be there? So there's definitely a lot of opportunity, both the traditional ML plus Gen AI use cases. So like I said, I think when we were at the grocery shop conference the other day, is just full of innovation. So I don't think there's an industry out there that's not looking at AI and Gen AI and thinking about how they can scale, right? How they can optimize. Yeah. So I think if you're in any of the industry and you're not thinking, then chances are you might be missing out, and you might have to catch up. So
yeah, I think that's a wrap. So ladies and gentlemen, that's a lot for great session. I want to thank deep sets of gratitude to offer who kind of made this event happen in this case. I want to thank Charu, Kiana, Brittany, and all the volunteers. Especially the who be really helping us to make this happen. Again, thank you for that. I thank Sandeep Giri, Makhan Virdi, Alan, who presentation is super insightful. And thanks for kind of sharing those deep insights from each of those applications there. So the visa is ready because the speakers are here.
Okay. Thank you, Srini, for organizing this. What I'll do is, you guys carry on. There are online users who are asking questions, so I'll try to address those questions. And you guys carry on. I'll just finish the online answers. Okay. Okay. One of the questions is, how can I derive mathematical expressions with ChatGPT? Is there any provision? Interesting. I have not used ChatGPT as such for mathematical expressions, but it's thought-provoking. You should give it a shot. Okay. A question is, I feel at some point in time, MapReduce in AI will be introduced, and yeah.
CloudxLab, you can make an app also. CloudxLab, make an app also.
Okay. We have an app. Yeah. Okay. So at some point in time, MapReduce in AI will be introduced. I don't know, but MapReduce in say when you are doing the prompt summarization, you do the reduce. You do the reduce chaining, like you keep on reducing over and over recursively. Question is there any visualization made for LLM embedding similar to what has been done for Glove or Word2Vec? So you can actually just take a look. I mean, it's the same philosophy, same. It's just the accuracy of LLM embedding is very high as compared to Glove or Word2Vec. So the next question is, what is generative AI? Still not sure what it means. Okay, so generative AI is basically a new name to the AI where we are generating things like image or text. Okay. A question from Siddharth is, according to Gartner Hype Cycle, there are 5 phases of any technology. I want to understand where AI ML in terms of evolution is. I think ChatGPT can answer this question better. Okay, so try it out. Okay, our question is, I think the real answer is to get the other option being more relevant in the response to the questions that your customers want to ask. Standard classification of possible queries is pretty hard. Yeah, so standard classification of possible queries, when I said, was basically, so when I talked about the standard classification, what I meant was that you convert the customer queries into a large language model embedding, and then you convert that to large language embedding, and then basically do the machine learning on top of it. So that works out pretty well. I have tested it. You can try the unsupervised, supervised algorithms and take a look at it. It's going right. Okay. A question from Kirti is, what kind of ethical practices are being defined around LLMs? So, okay. So basically, yeah. So one of them is like you should do a bit of research there. There's a toxicity reduction, biasness, and there are quite a few matrices. Specifically, the Llama came up with a good set of matrices which can be used. Specifically, the Vicuna benchmark is pretty good. Okay. Wait. All right. So I think that's pretty much we can take it today. And probably you can reach out to us at Sandeep at myto.ai, Sandeep at myto.ai, and we can answer these questions. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. You can